Welcome back everyone. So in this episode today, I'm going to be providing everyone with a portfolio update. Now I'm also going to be looking at the housing crisis and we're going to be looking into Hong Kong as an example. And we're also going to be looking at SpaceX, which has priced their Starlink satellite internet service at $99 per month. So it's been a while since I did a portfolio update, and we can see at the moment we have returns of almost negative £500. So that equates to negative 2.63%. So let's take a look at the companies that are most hit. Looking at the pie section here, we have bonds that are currently down almost 3%. The growth of ETFs is close to zero. And then we have finance, almost negative 6%. Healthcare, the most, at negative 7%. Real estate, negative 4% almost. And technology, 2.84%. So as a long-term investor, you have to experience the highs and the lows in terms of the growth of your portfolio. It's not always going to be on an upwards trend. Now, due to this decline, I have been purchasing a little bit more, mainly within the healthcare and also finance. But even with the likes of technology, it's been a while since I've seen a negative return. And so it's a good time to top up within the technology slice as well. So let me know in the comments below how your portfolio is doing. You can actually see that in terms of the utilities, that's the only one that's performing well right now, and that's just over 10% growth. And so if you do have a negative portfolio, don't feel discouraged. As always, there are buying opportunities, so there really isn't anything to stress about. Different countries have different problems when it comes to housing, and I felt as though Hong Kong has its own specific reasons why their housing is so expensive. So the likes of housing, you have supply and demand. On the demand side, we have to look at the population of the country, and so with the likes of Hong Kong, that's 7.5 million people, but only a portion of those would be potential buyers. And out of those potential buyers, you're going to have households of more than one person. On the supply side, we have 75.6% of the land in Hong Kong that is not developed. This is often referred to as the green space, and that generally consists of the mountainous and rocky regions. But within that space, there are some areas that can potentially be built on. Now, as it stands, there's many individuals that live in homes the size of parking spaces. The buildings are of a high-rise type structure, and so when the land is used, an area is zoned out, and from there you can build the high-rises. So with any country where you can build upwards, the lack of land isn't so much of an issue. For instance, 10 homes being built in the UK would take 10 times the amount of land to that in the likes of Hong Kong, and that's because those 10 homes can be stacked on top of each other and effectively utilizing just one area of the land. And so as you stack more homes on top, you improve the land efficiency. Now what's interesting is that the government owns all the land in Hong Kong, and what they do is they then lease the land out to developers. That lease is generally for a 50-year period, and what happens is companies will bid in an auction process and the highest bidder will get the contract. Now more often than not, mainland China is outbidding all the other competitors, and so more often than not there are ridiculous prices that are being sold for really small amounts of land. Now given the government zones the land, the scarcity from the zone process plus the auction style is arguably what's causing these astronomical house prices. So the first point here is that with government zoning and the leases to the land, that is the main problem that we are witnessing here in terms of the housing crisis. Now what is magnifying this problem is that Hong Kong is a city that loves low taxes. There's low corporation tax, there's no VAT tax and no sales tax. So with companies that operate in a tax-based system, generally the government will be receiving revenue from the taxes. But with the likes of Hong Kong, this simply isn't the case. So the government is seeking out different forms of sources to receive revenue. And simply put, the government is receiving that revenue from land sales. So there's no incentive for the government to provide land at a lower price, which of course is bad for the people living in Hong Kong, but without that bidding style to increase the price of a piece of land purchase, the government isn't going to receive those revenues. Now, it's not to say that there are zoning reforms taking place, but until the government can actually make this happen, the people living in Hong Kong will continue to live in small home spaces with these astronomical prices. Now, there actually consists of an index of economic freedom. This is worked out every year, and we can see the ranking here with Hong Kong sitting at second place. Now there's a range of factors that result in the ranking that you see, but it's evident that it doesn't factor in the extreme housing prices. And so here we can actually see the calculation. And so the rule of law, which generally speaking is how democratic a country is, and so whether or not there is regulatory practices or not, And so the freedom of labour is probably the most crucial here. And then how open the market is, and so in the form of trade-in and investment capital from the likes of other countries as well. And so how easy it is to trade with one another and how easy it is to invest from one country to another. So we can see that there is no accountability for problems with that of housing. If that was factored in, then we would see completely different results. Now for sure this is just an independent study, but I suspect that if the rankings did reflect the day-to-day struggles of a given country, then it would put more pressure on the likes of the government to try and deal with the problems that they face. So moving on to some news now, we have SpaceX, and they've finally given a price on their satellite internet service. Apparently it's going to cost $99 a month, and so right now it's just a beta phase. They've actually phrased their beta as better than nothing, which suggests that it's not going to be the best of services. And so the actual subscription side is $99 every month, but then there's a one-time upfront cost of $499. So that provides you access to the actual satellites. And so during this beta phase, it's estimated to have data speeds that vary to 150 megabytes per second. Now the latency is actually crucial here, given that the satellite service in theory operates faster than that of fiber optic cables, but it's around 20 to 40 milliseconds. But of course they'll be enhancing the Starlink system and learning from any problems that arise during this beta phase. And for anyone that does plan on using this service, they may have periods of no connectivity whatsoever. Now there's no clear indicator on how many people will be on this beta service. There's over 700,000 people within the US that are interested in having this satellite type of service. In terms of costing, this network is not completely built yet. It's estimated to cost around 10 billion US dollars, and it's forecasted to give $30 billion every year. And so this beta service is only operating in the northwest of the United States. That's just because their mesh network only consists of 900 satellite links. And so in terms of global coverage, this is just a fraction of the total amount needed. And it sounds as though Canada also will have access during this beta phase as well. And as always, high expectations to have global coverage by 2021. So it'd be interesting if the price does eventually come down when we have this operating on a global scale. $100 price point, probably going to equate to £100 per month. Now that's pretty expensive given that you can have fiber-based alternatives ranging from £20 to £40 every month. So fingers crossed the price does go down a little bit more. It's not a terrible price considering the amount of upfront work there is to create such a network. And with potentially faster speeds and lower latency, maybe they can justify that slightly increased price point per month. So thanks for watching everyone. New videos coming out at 4:30 PM GMT every Friday. If you're new around here, then do consider subscribing. And with that said, I'll catch you in the next one.